Hello everyone, my name is David, and today I'm sharing two scary stories with you. The first story is about Jennifer. Jennifer was a freelance photographer. She was a very free-spirited girl and lived life on her own terms. Everyone liked her carefree attitude. Whatever money she earned from her photography, she would spend it all exploring new places in the mountains. Jennifer loved solo traveling, exploring new places alone. This time, she came to a completely unexplored hill station alone. The place was near a village. There was a spot on top of that hill from where the view seemed nothing less than paradise. And there was a trek to get there, which was about 6 kilometers long. Jennifer packed her bag to see that view and grabbed her camera, and she started walking on that trek. There were some other people also walking on that trek with her. Jennifer, thinking about the view from above, motivating herself, was climbing up. After walking a while, Jennifer saw a rough path leading up the mountain. On closer inspection, she realized that the rough path was merging into the track she was following. Jennifer thought it was a shortcut. With plenty of experience in trekking, Jennifer decided to take that rough path. After walking on that rough path for about half an hour, Jennifer should have reached the main road by now, but she found herself in dense jungle instead. Jennifer looked back and couldn't even see the way back. She was lost with no network on her phone. Jennifer started to get anxious, questioning her luck. Determined to find the right path, Jennifer began to search, her life hanging by a thread due to hunger. That's when something appeared in front of her that she couldn't believe her eyes. Amidst the desolate place was a beautiful cafe. Outside, there was a board of Hill Retreat Cafe and a proper road connected to the cafe. Jennifer couldn't contain her joy. Without thinking twice, she rushed towards the cafe and went inside. As beautiful as the cafe looked from the outside, it was even more exquisite from the inside. The interior was decorated very nicely, and some youngsters were sitting there chatting and laughing. The cafe was perfect. Jennifer forgot everything. She quickly sat down at a table, and a waiter promptly approached her. As soon as the waiter placed the menu card on the table, Jennifer's gaze went to his wrist. There was a burn mark on his wrist. Before Jennifer could properly see the wound, the waiter covered it. Jennifer was very hungry, so she quickly placed her order. In just a few moments of ordering, Jennifer felt she needed to freshen up a bit. So she got up and headed towards the cafe's restroom. On the way to the restroom, there was also a table of laughing youngsters. Jennifer was passing by them when she noticed a wound on the head of one of the boys, and this wound looked exactly like that of the waiter. Upon closer inspection, Jennifer realized that such a wound was on every person sitting at that table, some on their foreheads and some on their hands. Jennifer was so engrossed in looking at those wounds that the real-life playing youngsters had become completely quiet, and they were staring at Jennifer in a very frightening way. Jennifer felt that maybe her staring had made the people angry. She apologized and went straight to the restroom from there. Turning on the tap in the restroom, Jennifer was thinking about those wounds. As she was thinking, when she washed her face with water and looked up in the mirror, her soul shivered. In the glass of that restroom, the entire area of the restroom appeared to be charred. Suddenly, she began to hear the loud screams of people, but it all stopped in just a few seconds. And by the time Jennifer could comprehend, everything had returned to normal. Jennifer began to feel that something was amiss in that place, but she was so hungry that she thought she would quickly fill her plate and leave. Jennifer reached her table, waiting for her food, and lit a cigarette to smoke. As Jennifer exhaled the smoke, she noticed that there was silence throughout the cafe, and every person in the cafe was staring at her. There was so much anger in their eyes that Jennifer became anxious, and as she continued to look at them, their faces began to change, and their bodies turned completely black. The waiter, who was smiling and talking to Jennifer, was now rushing towards Jennifer angrily. Jennifer, feeling scared, extinguished her cigarette in her glass of water. Unable to comprehend, she was extremely frightened. Before she could do anything, she saw people whose bodies were turning black, now crumbling like fire. Seeing this, Jennifer screamed in terror. Grabbing her belongings, she hastily fled the cafe. When she looked back after leaving, instead of the beautiful cafe, she saw a completely burnt-out ruin. Without thinking, she ran onto the road. While running, she spotted a car, and inside was a man who lived in the same area. Seeing Jennifer in such a state, The man in the car offered her a lift. Jennifer tried to explain to the man what happened with her as best as she could. She thought he would consider her crazy, but the man said something she had never even imagined. He told Jennifer that the place she was talking about had a cafe 10 years ago. Once, a customer in that cafe was smoking a cigarette and carelessly threw it near his table without putting it out. Due to the customer's negligence, a fire broke out in a curtain of the cafe, and before anyone could do anything, the fire spread throughout the cafe, trapping everyone inside who ended up burning to death. Jennifer was shocked to hear this. Now everything made sense to her, but she couldn't believe that everyone in that cafe was not alive, but dead. Listening to the man, Jennifer was thinking that she narrowly escaped, but Jennifer didn't know that the person sitting next to her also had a similar wound on his neck. The next day, a news article came in the area's newspaper stating that a girl died in an accident on the same main road, and the girl's name was Jennifer. Friends, here's another story, the tale of the red handkerchief. This story is about Priya and Sumitra. They have been best friends since childhood, and even after all these years, they were still working in the same company. Both of them lived together in Bangalore. Once they were returning home late at night from a party. Sumitra was driving, but both of them had tension and anger on their faces. Priya had revealed some secret of Sumitra in front of her friends at the party, which made Sumitra very angry at Priya. Priya had apologized to Sumitra several times during the party, but Sumitra was still not ready to forgive. An argument started between Sumitra and Priya in the car. Frustrated, Priya asked Sumitra to stop the car. Sumitra was extremely angry and slammed on the brakes. Priya got out of the car and stood in the middle of the deserted road. Anger is an emotion that can diminish all relationships in just moments, and it happened here too. In her anger, Sumitra left her childhood friend in the middle of a deserted road late at night and drove away with the car. As soon as Priya saw Sumitra driving away, tears welled up in her eyes. She somehow composed herself and tried to book a cab through her phone, but there were no cabs available in the deserted area. It was already past 2 in the night. Priya decided to start walking on the road. She thought maybe she could find an auto rickshaw or taxi a little ahead. With her eyes glued to her phone, Priya was walking on the road when her foot sank into the mud. Her entire foot was immersed in the filthy mud. But what was strange was that the mud wasn't like normal road mud. It was extremely sticky and thick, emitting a foul smell. Priya looked around and found a red handkerchief lying on the side of the road. She used that handkerchief to clean her feet and then threw it away, continuing ahead. Walking a short distance, Priya began to feel as if someone was quickly approaching her. Priya immediately turned around to look, but there was no one there. Priya found this very strange, but dismissed the sound as a figment of her imagination. Feeling quite thirsty, Priya needed to get her water bottle, but she hesitated. Inside her purse was the same red handkerchief she had thrown on the ground. So how did it end up in her purse again? Priya grabbed the red handkerchief, feeling as if someone was standing behind her. When Priya turned, there was no one right next to her, but a man was watching her from behind a tree a short distance away. He was wearing a black jacket, which made Priya suddenly feel uneasy. The man was approaching Priya from behind a tree at a short distance. Priya couldn't clearly see his face, but he didn't seem like a normal person at all. Fearful, Priya threw the handkerchief there and started walking ahead briskly. Priya had now forgotten her anger and started dialing Sumitra out of fear, but her phone wasn't connecting. Priya could hear footsteps behind her repeatedly, but she didn't have the courage to look back. She was so scared that she started crying, and this time she couldn't stop her tears. Priya's phone had no network, and the man following her could pose a danger to her life. He thought, she will run and escape from that man. But as soon as she started running, her foot slipped in the mud again. Priya realized the mud was just like before, where her foot had slipped a while ago. Priya couldn't understand anymore, because perhaps she had returned to the same place where she had started walking. As soon as Priya looked to her right, she saw the man standing there in the same black jacket and with the same red handkerchief in his hand. Upon seeing him, Priya screamed, as now she could clearly see his face. The man's face was so horrifying that Priya was terrified. His eyes were sunken, and there were strange cracks on his face from which blood was oozing. Priya was terribly scared, and he started smiling oddly as he looked at Priya. After that, Priya slowly closed her eyes, running in fear. And suddenly, she collided with something very big and fainted right there. When she regained consciousness, she was on the back seat of a car. Priya's heart sank when she saw who was driving the car, realizing her life was in danger. It was her friend Sumitra who was driving. Sumitra explained that after their fight, she started worrying about Priya and decided to come looking for her. After all, they were best friends. When Priya's phone went out of network, Sumitra became even more worried. So Sumitra decided to turn back to bring Priya back. Sumitra asked Priya several times why she was crying, but Priya couldn't tell her anything. Priya never understood what happened to her that night, and maybe that's why she still doesn't talk about the incident. If Priya sees a red scarf with someone after that night, her heart trembles terribly. How did you like this story? Don't forget to subscribe to us.